My name is Dr. Michael Brown, and this is 3 Words, a bite-sized podcast about the simple, significant, and strategic choices that all of us can make in order to be fully alive. Today in the studio, we talk about suffering. We talk about suffering for something that we are passionate about. Beau Johnson, my guest, talks about and unpacks this idea of when you find that greatest passion, when you're trying to uncover your greatest passion, when you're searching for your passion, you're probably going to find it in that which you're willing to suffer for. Listen in. Beau, I'm really looking forward to this conversation today, and I'm also a little bit intrigued because the 3 words that you're bringing to us today are so interesting. I'm ready to unpack them. So here they are.
Suffer for something.
So when I first heard this, I'm like, we're going to have a podcast episode around suffering and pain and misery and difficulty. And yet I think you have something else in mind. So why are these 3 words so important to you?
I want people to live on purpose. I want people to be able to discover and find their purpose. And purpose is inseparable from what you are passionate about. And today we're going to have a conversation about passion. How do you discover it? How do you live into it? But first, we need to understand what it is. So, Michael, this is what passion is. Passion is what you are willing to suffer for.
Now I see the connection. So suffer for something means pursue your passions.
It does.
Okay.
But I think so often if we say, go pursue your passion, my guess is most people who are listening are like, oh no, you're reminding me that I don't even know what my passion is. They maybe approach passion like it's fire. And I want to share this word picture that's been really, really helpful for me. If we think about passion like it's fire, it's the fire in your belly. It's going to the Tony Robbins event and being motivated. Or passion is Tim Tebow or some other athlete who stands on the sidelines and rallies people. Well, then I'm always the recipient of passion. It is always passion's job to keep me moving. Think about what fire is. A fire is something that either has to be maintained or contained. If passion is something external to me that is motivating me and moving me, well, what happens as soon as the fire dies out? Then I lose my interest. And if we've been sitting back waiting for passion to motivate us, we're always going to be passive. But I want to be a passionate person. And so I think about passion like this, Michael. Passion is like a piano that I have to move. Now, I've moved lots of times, and I take my piano with me every time. And here's what you do when you go move a piano. You call a bunch of friends. And you say, I need your help. And they all come over and they find their spot on the piano and you say, 1, 2, 3, lift. Passion is the thing that you are willing to lift. Passion is the thing that you are willing to suffer for. And what I observe with people who are on purpose, who have clarity about their life, is they all have clarity about the specificity of what they are willing to suffer for.
Wow, that's amazing, Beau. And obviously you are a business consultant. You are working with Fortune 500 companies all the time in your day job. And I don't know if you want to talk more about that, but just I'm guessing one of the primary work that you're doing with leaders around the world is helping them discover their passion. But you made a very interesting point that most people get nervous when you start talking about passion. Like, I don't know what my passion is. How do people discover their passion?
Well, this is such a great question. And yes, it's worth saying. I work with companies all over the world. I work with a guy named Patrick Lencioni. He wrote a book called The Advantage. And he said the first question that every business needs to answer is, why do we exist? And I think every person wrestles with the same question of why do I exist? What is the purpose of what we are doing? And so I love coming along beside leaders and helping them pay attention to what experiences in their life and what things around them motivate them to want to be better and to want to be able to make a difference. All of us, I believe, are hardwired to make a difference. So I forget now the question you asked me is, how do we begin to discover it? Is that what you said?
Yeah, how do we discover our passion? But I'm also hearing you saying that once we determine our purpose for existence individually and even as a community, it's there where we'll find our passion. Is that true?
Yeah, I think that the simple answer is the way you discover your passion is by showing up. Show up, and if you are in your 20s, in your 30s, the best thing that you could do is literally show up on somebody else's turf and say, how can I help? And just listen and pay attention to 2 things. What breaks your heart? When you're showing up on somebody else's turf and helping, what is it that's like, that shouldn't be that way? I wish I could do something about that. Another way to ask that would be, who would you be really moved by if they said thank you to you? That gives you a really good indicator of what you are passionate about. Does that make sense?
It does. This is so good because I talk a lot about, as I have kind of conceptualized, the 8 essentials to a successful life. And it's 8 different P's: perspective, productivity, people, a plan, persistence, but one of them is passion. But it's always hard for me to kind of explain it because it's like this, it's the one thing in the list that seems, less tangible. It's like the feeling.
Yes.
But you're saying passion is more than a feeling. You're saying passion is a choice to show up, to serve, to ask questions, to actually get your hands dirty in something that matters. I'm going to hit pause right now in the middle of our episode, and I would presume that you know individuals in your life that are struggling with, what is my passion and how do I find my passion? Share this episode with them. Now back to the conversation.
And I would say, again, so passion is not a feeling. In fact, passion should be very, very specific. In fact, the leaders that I work with in their 50s and 60s and 70s who still have passion that has staying power have specified what their passion is. That might be as specific as freedom or healing or trust or cohesion, or it might be marriage, right? But they have named the specificity of this is what I am passionate about. You know what a great indicator of how to find your passion is to pay attention to what you aren't passionate about. Let me talk a little bit about that.
Please.
It took me a long time to figure this out because I would hear, I'd watch a commercial on TV or hear a compelling story about things that honestly didn't break my heart. And I thought something is wrong with me. I must not be a compassionate person. I must not be empathetic. But no, everything that does not break my heart is clarity. It's insight from me about what I'm not supposed to carry. So I can see something like homelessness is a really, really good thing that I want somebody to care about. It's not the piano that I'm supposed to go move. And I can sit back and feel guilty about that, or I can say, that's insight to me about maybe what I am supposed to do, because it's taken something off of the list of what I don't need to feel responsible to carry. Passionate people have showed up on somebody else's turf and eventually in their own turf and said, I've figured out how I can help and I want to help.
I figured it out. So it's through almost this process of experimentation.
Of discovery, yeah. And the way that we get there is to start suffering. And suffering might feel like a really strong term, a really strong word, but I just believe we discover passion by showing up and suffering for things. Suffering meaning give up something, right? Give up maybe your dignity, give up your time, give your resources, give your attention. Be willing to say, I'm going to do something for somebody else's benefit. The best way to get clarity about your passion is participation.
Well, and if you don't care deeply about it, if you're not willing to suffer for that thing, it probably isn't your passion. It's interesting though. I'm guessing that there's folks who are listening and viewing today who have been guilt tripped by others who are saying, why are you not passionate about this? This is the greatest need of the world. And why are you not? You should be passionate about this. And what you're freeing us up today in this conversation, Beau, is that we each will suffer for something different. And we don't need to suffer for everything. You use the term, that which I am willing to carry is that which I care for.
Yeah.
And so if I'm not willing to carry it, I maybe don't have that same level of care. I can care generally, as you said, about homelessness and various things. But the thing that you're most passionate about is the thing that you're going to care about, think about a lot. But you're not going to probably care about it theoretically. You're going to care about it because you're in it.
Yes,
you're doing it.
Yes, it's not just theoretical. It's not just in your head or your heart. It's with your hands. It's what you are out there doing. Yeah, it took me a long time to figure this out too, that the thing that I'm passionate about, somebody else doesn't have to be passionate about. In fact, I was very judgmental for a long time about people who were not passionate about what I was passionate about. And then I realized, no, this is for me to carry and to find the other people who are willing to lift and carry this piano. And when you find those people, you found those people, there are similar things that we're passionate about.
Yeah.
Oh, there is such rich community and connection when you come alongside people who care about the same thing that's broken in the world or among people or among relationships. But not everybody has to be passionate about that thing.
Well, and I think it's hard for particularly you and I who care so deeply about people and human beings and healing and growth and evolution. And, we even talk about here at 3 Words Podcast all the time, becoming the best version of yourself. Sometimes when it seems like people are passionate about things that don't matter as much. And that makes me feel a little judgmental. But wouldn't you say, though, there are things, there are themes, there are ideas that are more worthy to be passionate about, or is that not true?
Okay, so this might be provocative, and you can send me an email or hate mail if people disagree with this, but I think there's only one legitimate passion.
Here we go.
Which is people. There's only one truly legitimate passion. It's people. It could be relationships. It could be a group of people. It could be an individual person. The only legitimate passion is people. So let me tell you what that means. If you say, I'm passionate about art, or I'm passionate about jujitsu, I would say, okay, tell me why. Well, I'm passionate about art because it helps see beauty, or people see the potential in themselves, or it creates space, or it creates connection. Okay, good. Now we're getting to what the real passion is. Art is the vehicle to get at something that in your bones you care about. Or jujitsu. You're passionate about jujitsu. No, you're interested in jujitsu, which is a vehicle that gets at what is the core of your being that loves that. Is it that you love seeing people get stronger or being able to defend themselves? Mm-hmm. Is it that you love the preservation of something that is good? Like that will help uncover what is the core passion underneath.
I love
and then, Michael, it gives us freedom, because that person who discovered that, oh, what I love is people getting healed. You will now see other places outside of your interests to be able to live into your passion. And what I see happen is people who have named their passion find more and more places to be able to live a cohesive life, a congruent life, where their passion and their interest are merged, where they're coming together.
In the context of community, in relationships with other human beings, because I think that sustainable suffering typically in some way is connecting to human beings.
Yes.
Because those who are, it's going to be, if I'm passionate about this particular possession,
yeah, or
if I'm super passionate about this particular title or position within my company, that will probably fade. It will probably fail us in time. But if I am passionate, and I agree with you, of course, because I think a lot about human beings, all that matters at the end of life, relationships are all that most count. And I agree with you, but we can be passionate about things, but I think you asked the best question is why? And if we go down that trail, I am presuming that which we are all most willing to suffer for is other human beings.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I love the national parks. Okay. We love going to the national parks. I find them interesting. I like the history of them. But if national parks is an end to itself, here's what's going to happen. It could become an idol for me, or it will end up isolating me, where I will be disconnected from people and I will put that thing above other people. And Michael, I don't want to be that way. Mm-mm. I don't want to put any object, anything above a person. And I love helping people discover the clarity of what they're passionate about, what they want to suffer for. So Michael, I would just dare you as my best friend and myself and everybody listening to say, suffer for something. The purpose of life is not to avoid suffering. The purpose of life is to make a difference and to find the thing that you can lift and make a meaningful contribution to a significant story.
Beau, it's always a pleasure having you here in 3 Words Podcast. Thank you for sharing your heart and your passion.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks for listening in today to my conversation with Beau. It was really good to have you here with us, and we love being connected to you. If you want to be more connected to us, we would encourage you to go to dmbcoaching.com/subscribe, where you can subscribe to our bi-monthly newsletter, usually every 6 to 8 weeks. And until 2 weeks from now, make it a great, great life.